Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Darren, and in today's video I'm going to be discussing on the viability of combat rogues within patch 6.2. A lot of changes have happened to combat rogues, and this is something I feel like I should discuss, as we're going to be talking about the meta and how combat rogues is going to perform later down the line once the actual conquest point gear is released. So this video is going to be kind of lengthy, and I'm going to hopefully keep it a discussion rather than a rant. So let's get on to it. The footage in the background you will see is me and a 2700 priest running Combat Rogue Disc Priest. It's actually kind of fun. It was actually a lot of fun playing that because I really get to gauge on how well my spec is doing. I got to really test out my coolies in the arena settings while, pulling my own weight. I wasn't really carried here, even though he's 2700. But it was a lot of fun. Everybody starts at 0 and you get to play with some high rated players. It's just experiences much more than it is playing with like somebody 1200 or whatever. It's much better of a gameplay. Anyway, so combat rogues and 6.2 and their viability. First of all, we have to take a look at all the buffs and debuffs that we've gotten. All the buffs and nerfs, I guess, is what I'm looking at. We have combat rogue got buffed in Sinister Strike. They got 10% extra effectiveness in Mastery, which is always good. We got a Kill Spree, CCable, and I think we got a Eviscerate buff by 10%, so it's like buffs across the board, and then a Kill Spree CCable. They didn't nerf the damage of it at all, although it does feel kind of funky with current gear. I'll get to that in a second. But overall, Combat Rogues got buffed 10% across the board. Our Sinister Strike is buffed, Eviscerate got buffed by 10%, Mastery is 10% more effective. Killing Spree is the only thing got sort of nerfed. Again, not damage, just CCable, so it's a lot like every other spec. Right now the only spec that actually has a unpeelable burst is Assassination, and that's when they are able to land the 200k DFAs, which are kind of insane. But even that is, you're able to play around that with a Vendetta, but it is really easy to line up. Like, it honestly takes no skill. I've done it in arenas before. Going 2v2 is literally just do it in the opener, chunk guys, health, 20k, death roll buff, banished and venom for 100k. It's not even an arena game. It was literally just like, welcome to arena. Hope you enjoy getting one shot. Welcome to World of Roguecraft kind of deal. But anyway, with the combat buffs that we've gotten, it does really feel powerful. I only have 2 pieces of conquest gear, and one of them is versatility haste, so literally just like not the stats that I need, which is mastery. But as I'm running around, in arenas, I can literally solo down Holy Paladins with simply using my sustained damage. Well, if I'm able to line up a stun, kick the casts, get a gouge, maybe even manage silence, eviscerate in order to, chunk a health off a bit and keep them, on the run, I actually can kill Paladins, and this really just feels empowering. The only thing that doesn't feel empowering is when you're about to line up full damage onto them, and then you kill spree just to get that CC'd off of you. It just really feels crippling and interesting. Killing spree, on the other hand, I know that there's a lot of just number changes happening every time they, introduce new type of gear, with better stats. Right now, Killing Spree doesn't seem to be dealing as much damage as it does during Deep Insight as it would during any other Insight. So I feel like I will need to play around with that, so maybe Killing Spree might be an ability that can be spammable whenever, maybe even in an opener to chunk somebody early. But that is something, again, I will need to really take a look at and figure out for myself. Not 100% sure how it's working right now the way that it does. Don't really have an explanation for anybody, but it really doesn't feel that Deep Insight Killing Spree is super effective right now. It doesn't feel like it just, is a killer. It just destroys people. It definitely deals some sizable damage, but it doesn't seem like you can watch out somebody. And I don't know what it is. Because I use my Killing Spree with the Trinket proc, and if I get Deep Insight, that's 50% extra damage. Maybe it's just not scaling with, the Bandit's Guile. Maybe that's just what's happening right now. So I might have to put in a ticket just in case that's what's happening. Maybe it's just the numbers are weird up until I get Arena gear, and that is something to remember. We're not even in full Conquest gear, guys. So it's really hard to gauge where combat is at. But if it's doing as well as it's doing right now, I mean, we already have somebody on combat ladders at like 2200 right now in 3s. If it's doing as well as it is right now, I think it's viable. It's safe to say that's viable. Although, you can always be a skeptic and, can doubt me. That's completely understandable. I won't blame you for being a skeptic. Players just want to have the best experience that they can out of the game, and they want to play a spec that's going to do the job that they are looking for. So definitely, if you're going to go for, you know, if you have any sort of skepticism, you should definitely pick up some daggers and go assassination and even subtlety, because then at least you have two different, you know, options for specs. I guess you can still roll combat, but you're just going to have such a reduced damage with those daggers. Reduced damage, almost nerfed to the ground kind of deal, I would even say. So, yeah, I feel like Combat Rogue is doing really well right now, especially for the gear that it is given, for, you know, the situation that it's granted in. I think it's great. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying playing combat, and even especially in this arenas with that priest, I was really able to gauge on how well my spec is doing, how much damage I'm able to put out, especially with the gear that I have, how am I faring against other classes, and how is, I don't know, how bad is this killing spree nerf that everybody's clamoring about. As well as I get to gauge where my damage really comes from, and get to try out new different things with the spec. It's a lot of fun. I'm thinking combat is going to be still just as strong as it was in 6.1, if not stronger, once we get our full set of gear. Because even though our killing spree is CCable, it still deals decent damage. We have a lot more sustained damage than before. We can shrug down paladins, which is, you know, always a buff, always a bonus. So I feel like we're in a good spot, especially if we're doing as well as we are with the gear that we have. I feel like that's definitely a you know, a pointer to combat rogue is doing well, because as a rogue we scale with gear, and if we have terrible gear we scale terribly. So yeah, it's really just, you know, from my experience back in MMOP, every time we get full new tier sets, you know, the current arena gear that we had is just terrible compared to the new one, so you have to get the full new set. So that's something I'm not new to when playing combat. I'm always used to, you know, doing not as well unless I get the next tier set of arena gear, conquest gear. But from what I can say, I think Combat Rogue is doing well. Let me know what you guys think about Combat Rogue. How do you think they're gonna do? How do you think they're gonna do down the line in 6.2? English, can't even. So let me know in the comments below which spec you're gonna be playing. How do you think combat is gonna fare? And I'll see you guys in the next video.